Welcome to In Fearless Conversation, a podcast from 261 Fearless, where every discussion is an opportunity to shape the future. I'm your host, Kim Chaffee, and together we'll explore any topic that impacts a woman's quality of life, from leadership and personal growth to health and financial security. Join me and discover how a fearless conversation can shape the future you deserve. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to In Fearless Conversation, and welcome to June. My goodness, this year is flying by, but I'm happy June is here in New Hampshire. It is finally starting to feel less like winter, which I'm very, very happy about. And I'm also very happy that we have Marlies Hirschbeck and Dr. Juliet McGrattan joining us today to talk about runner safety. And I know we've been talking about runner safety over our last two interview episodes, but today's episode is going to be a little bit different. So our focus is going to shift. We're going to talk more about an internal self-awareness based safety that every runner should be mindful of before, during, and after their run. It's a really great conversation. We talk about warning signs, how to tell the difference between pushing yourself in a healthy way versus ignoring warning signs. We talk about preparation, how to make sure you're prepared for your run. We talk about myths about running, common mistakes that runners make when it comes to runner safety and being prepared. And we talk about green flags that a runner is listening to their body well. I'm really excited about those green flags, really important. So without further ado, let's get Juliet and Marlies on the line. Marlies and Juliet, welcome back to the pod. It's always a great day when I get to chat with the two of you and we get to share your wisdom with our 261 Fearless audience. So welcome back and thank you for sharing some more of your time with us. So the past two interviews I've done on the podcast have been focused on safety while running. We talked with Ashley Raymond and Megan Doyle from Safely, and we talked with Dina Lewis and Sydney Johnson from Running Mate. And I think when people hear the words runner safety, their first thought is of something like an external danger or an external threat. And they're thinking, well, what can I carry with me or who can I run with? And that kind of runner safety was connected with those two conversations. But there's another layer to runner safety that we think is just as important and we certainly don't want to overlook. And it's for all runners, especially runners that may have some sort of medical condition that they're dealing with. And that's more of an internal or like a self-awareness based safety. So Juliet, can you talk a little bit more about that kind of safety and why it's important?
Yeah, sure. I think as you say, when people talk about being safe on runs, they think about not getting attacked or,
right,
being vulnerable in that sort of way. But I think there's also this element of staying well and not putting yourself in danger from a physiological point of view. So not doing anything during the running, which is going to cause you to come to harm. So I think it's a very broad sort of topic, and obviously it's very dependent, as you said, on whether you've got medical conditions. But I think it is really good for runners to just think about their own personal situation, what issues they've got, what might put them in danger or unintentionally cause them harm, and what steps they can take to make running safer for them all round.
Yeah, definitely. Marlies, so what are like three things? I know there's probably a ton of things that runners could keep in mind, but what are three things that runners can do to make sure that they're taking this kind of safety into account before their run or when they're on their run?
Yeah, so In my opinions, the three things that runners can do to take this kind of safety in account are, first of all, learn and track your personal warning signs. Every runner's body communicates differently, so keeping track of signals like unusual fatigue, elevated heart rate, delayed period, for example, or headaches can help runners recognize when something is off before it becomes serious. Second, avoid the push through everything mentality. So I think consistency is important in running, but ignoring symptoms is not toughness. It's sometimes risky. If something feels significantly different, runners should feel empowered to modify the workout, slow down, walk, or stop completely. So I think long-term health always matters more than finishing one training session. And you said three, so I also have a third one. Create a proactive plan around your specific needs. That might mean carrying fuel or hydration, adjusting training around heat, or communicating with a coach or a running partner, or talking regularly with a healthcare provider, for example. Yeah, so the safest runners are usually the ones who prepare ahead instead of reacting in the moment.
Yes, preparation is key, right? Prepare for everything and hope for nothing, no kind of surprise that comes up for sure. So you mentioned not pushing through, and I think that that's something that I don't want to say a lot of people do, but I think that's kind of a common thing, right? People are like, oh, it's just, I'm just uncomfortable or whatnot. How can runners tell the difference between pushing themselves in a healthy way, right? Being fearless, but like not ignoring warning signs. Juliet, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you're taught dig deep, keep going.
Yeah.
and that dig deep and this is part of what you think of that you need to do to get better and to get faster or to finish the event that you've started. So I think it can be very tricky, but I think a lot of it comes down to knowing what your limits are and exercising and training and increasing your the pressure you put on yourself in a very gradual way. So, of course, if you go from nothing to suddenly being at mile 24 in a marathon, that's a huge step, and that is going to potentially put you at harm. Whereas if you did your last long run, you trained sensibly all the way through your training plan and you did your 21 miles, if things get tricky when you get to 23 miles, you can most likely think, okay, right, I know this is going to be tricky and I can dig deep. So I think part of it is a sensible approach to your running and making sure you do things in a gradual way so that your body has had time to adapt and to strengthen itself and to become resilient to the loads that you're putting on it. So I think that's probably the most important thing, is having the confidence in yourself that you've felt something similar before. You know what this is like. You're just putting a little bit more in than you did last week. So I think that's one thing that you can make sure that you've done. I think anything that's unusual for you, you need to pay attention to. So yes, your heart rate does increase when you are running, and when you're pushing really hard, it will increase, it will go faster. But if it's starting to go really fast or jump around or make you have chest pain or make you feel really out of breath or dizzy or lightheaded, those kind of things which are unusual and just don't feel right, you should always listen to, and you should never just push through and keep going and hope for the best. Those kind of cardiac or respiratory things which are unusual are always really important. If it's just, tired legs, and a voice in your head saying you need to stop, then it's okay to keep going, but if you think it might be something more medical, then it is so much safer to stop, take a break, sit down, get help if you need it, and approach it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talk like, be fearless, and we want to make sure that the message we're sending is, yes, be fearless, push through. Maybe if you, like you said, tired legs and your head is telling you, oh, you're tired, stop. But don't ignore, the signs that are clearly there to help you understand that you need to stop. You need to take a rest.
Be fearless, be sensible.
Be fearless, be sensible.
So I think in our 261 groups, of course, this isn't the kind of running that we're doing.
Right.
We're not pushing ourselves to limits. We're helping women to learn how to run safely. And that means for their body. And increasing things gradually and becoming stronger so that you can be more resilient as a runner. So this is really just, I think, when runners are setting out, maybe at the beginning, or they're doing lots of running on their own, or they're setting themselves big challenges and wanting to get personal bests and things, which isn't what we do within our 261 groups. But I think it's important for all runners to know about these things.
Absolutely, for sure. And Marlies, you mentioned preparation. That was your third thing for runners to remember. So let's talk about that a little bit. What are some things that runners should be doing before they go out for a run to help keep themselves safe?
Yeah. So first of all, I completely agree with Juliet. Training is a huge part of safety, and preparing your body over time helps reduce injury risk over training or whatever. So it makes a huge difference when it comes to safety. Also, before heading out for a run, make sure that you prepared your body in the right way. Maybe do some warm-ups or whatever, but also try to check how you feel, not only physically, but maybe also mentally. So, you said it. Push through, motivate yourself. But if you're really tired and your body really says, no, I need to rest today, take a day off and rest, and maybe, skip that one session and go for the next one on the next day. And if you want to really push through the session, then try to be sure that you are hydrated, that you don't have like some unusual pain or whatever. So really try to, be sensible, as you already said. I also think that it's important to check the weather conditions. I already mentioned that before. So try to check if it's maybe too warm or if a thunderstorm is arriving or whatever. Try to plan the route. Maybe if you run somewhere where it's dangerous, tell your family or a running mate or whatever where you are running, bring your phone. And if you have any medical conditions, make sure that you bring your medication or adjust the workout based on how your body is feeling today.
Yeah, and I think too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have a medical condition especially, it's always a good idea to run with others, because in the event that something does happen, you would have someone there to kind of help you out.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's also the case why our 261 meet runs are so important, because we have a running group there. We have women who support each other. And if you have anything or any medical conditions, I think this is the best setting you can have. We also have our 261 coaches there, who try to support their members. So,
yeah, awesome. Juliet, what do you wish more women understood about taking care of themselves as runners?
I think that it's not just about the running. I think that you need a really holistic view of your health in order to run well. And lots of women, I think, have so many other pressures in life other than running. And running itself can easily become a pressure if you put, you set too big a goal and you take up too much time with running. But I think it's important to know that to look after your body and to be able to run well, you also have to look at what you're putting into your body. So you have to look at your nutrition and fueling yourself well and having lots of nutrients so that your body can repair and regenerate and restore itself. So definitely what you're eating, but also your recovery and your rest, because it's not actually when you run that you get fitter. It's afterwards, when you're resting, when you're recovering, when you're sleeping. And that's actually when the body is doing the work of all the repair work and then making itself stronger so that you're ready for the next time. So if you're skimping on rest days, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not identifying and prioritizing recovery, then you're not going to be looking after yourself well as a runner. And then I think thirdly, the bigger picture, as I say, the mental pressures that lots of women are under, it uses energy. It uses just as much energy sometimes as the physical things that we're doing. So you can be exhausted and not run well, even if you've been sitting down all week, because you've literally used up all your energy on the mental stresses that you've got.
Sure.
So I think it's really important to just think of the whole big picture, what you're eating, how you're moving, are you resting, recovering, and then what are your stress levels and general life schedule like?
Yeah. That's a great point. The stress levels definitely impact your energy levels. That mental load is a real thing. So I'm glad you brought that up. So before I let you go, I would like to do some just kind of quick fire questions because I think they're always a great way to get a lot of information in quickly. So I'll ask each of you each question so you can each answer. What's one thing every runner should always carry with them? Marlies, do you want to go first?
Yes, I can go first. So I would say running shoes from Adidas.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to expand upon that answer, or
Yeah.
you just want to leave it at that?
I think it's a tricky question because I try to carry as little as possible when I go for a run. So I usually don't take anything with me, and that's
Okay.
why running shoes came to my mind.
Fair enough. That would be an important thing to take with you running, for sure. Juliet?
Well, I'm going to say the obvious one in terms of safety, your phone.
Oh, that's a good one.
Maybe you want the headspace and you don't want to look at it, but at least you've got it.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, if there's an emergency, if somebody needs to find out where you are, you just want to stop and take a picture.
That's a good one too. For me, I would say, and I'm not going to answer all of these, but for me, it's water. And I find that I just need, no matter the distance I'm going, I just like to have water with me. Even if I don't necessarily use it during the run, I just like to have it with me in case I feel like I need some water, whether it's extremely hot and humid out or even if it's cold. Okay, next one. Biggest myth about running with a medical condition. Juliet, you want to go first?
I don't know if I'm going to pick the same one as Marlies. There's so many of these, but I'm going to say that people think if they've got arthritis in their knees that they shouldn't run. And that isn't true. Yes, you can be limited to some extent by pain, and obviously if it's causing you a lot of pain, but there's really good studies and evidence now that actually sensible recreational running can help to treat and prevent further deterioration in osteoarthritis. So I think people get very scared about this. They think they've worn their knees out by running, but actually they probably would have had more trouble with their knees if they'd been inactive than if they were a runner. So that's, yeah, and I know plenty of people who've been told they've got a bit of arthritis in their knees who've sort of thought that means they need to stop running, but actually done the right way, done sensibly, etc. A few caveats, but yes, running is good for your knees, even if they've got arthritis.
I love it. Love it. Marlies?
Yeah, tricky question. Okay, I would say the biggest myth of running with a medical condition is telling yourself that you cannot run. Because I'm sure there's always a way to go out for a run or for a walk or whatever. But yeah, always try to make sure that the activity you do fits your needs.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing you can do is doing nothing. So if you can walk. If you can run. I'm sure you can do anything.
Excellent. Okay, what's one common mistake runners make when it comes to safety or preparedness? Who wants to go first on this one?
I can go first. I think a lot of runners don't plan their routes. Because if you are, for example, in a city on holiday or whatever, you never know where you can run, where it's safe, and so on. So try to ask someone who lives there, or try to ask maybe at the hotel reception where you can run, where it's safe. So try to plan your route. Also, when it comes to elevation gain and so on, I think that's important. So try to plan a safe route, but also a route that fits with your fitness.
Fits with your fitness. Say that 5 times
Yeah.
fast. Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Strava has a feature where there's a bunch of routes that have been tested in all different places. And I'm becoming more knowledgeable about Strava, so I don't know exactly how this works, but I believe there's routes that have been pre-programmed sort of from other Strava runners in locations all over the world. So you can use those to kind of help guide you if you're in a new space. But I do agree that always talking to someone locally and asking them where it's safe is a good idea. Okay, Juliet, your answer to this one common mistake runners make when it comes to safety or preparedness.
I would say, I was going to say running with a hangover, but there's not many. Yeah, we'll leave that one. I'm going to say running when you don't feel well, being not, just not listening to your body, whether that is because you've been out the night before or whether you're coming down with a cold or whether you're getting over a stomach bug. I think just being so keen to get back to running, not wanting to miss your run, especially if you're following a training plan. And really, a lot of the time, it's better just to take a couple more days off and get properly well before you run. All your fitness isn't going to just suddenly disappear over a matter of a few days. So I would say it's much safer, it's much better for your body if you just have a bit of extra rest and return to running when you really feel ready and able to do it.
Excellent. It's a good one. Okay, last one. We hear a lot about red flags with things, but let's think about green flags. So good things. What's one green flag that tells you a runner is listening to their body well?
Do you want to go, Marlies?
Yeah, I can go if you want. So I think a green flag for me is someone who recovers well and also takes days off, gives their body the time it needs to rest, recover, and then start it all over again.
Excellent. Juliet?
I think there's quite a lot I can think of, but I think one that I like is when I see a runner walking, because there's such a stigma, isn't there, about not having a walk break and keeping going. And I always know, especially when I want to ring along and I see a runner that's walking, I just think, that's great. That's great. They're listening to their body. They know that they need to slow down for a bit, whether they're going to start running again or not, but they are actually doing what feels right for them and not succumbing to any sort of external pressures to feel like they need to keep going and they need to keep running, even when they know their body's telling them they should just take it down a little bit. So yeah, yay for the walks.
As always, a big thank you to Marlies and Juliet for joining us on the podcast today. They always bring such incredible wisdom, and I'm grateful for their time sharing that wisdom with all of us. I want to mention that we are covering this topic for the months of June and July on our social media channels, so Instagram and Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. And we're also covering it on our blog, which you can find on our website. So I encourage you to follow us on all of those social channels and check out our website. If you have a particular question that you would like Juliet or Marlies to address on our social channels, then please feel free to send us a DM. And if you have the question, there is a very good chance that someone else has that question too. So that's all for this week. We'll see you again with a new episode next week. Until then, stay fearless.